Welcome to Unit 2. This week the lecture will cover 4 rationales for participating in policy advocacy and ethics. So first of all, why would anyone want to participate in policy reform? I think we have made a pretty good case for saying that it's difficult, it's challenging, it's frustrating. Why on earth would anybody want to do it? Well, one of the key pieces for social workers is to promote the values of social work and to uphold the Code of Ethics. The Code of Ethics states that we should advocate for changes in policy and legislation to improve social conditions in order to meet basic human needs and promote social justice. In addition, social workers should promote policies and practice that demonstrate respect for difference, support the expansion of cultural knowledge and resources, advocate for programs and institutions that demonstrate cultural competence, and promote policies that safeguard the rights of and confirm equity and social justice for all people. So, as social workers, we are obligated to participate in policy reform. In addition, we want to promote well-being. We want to make sure that services are being provided that enhance people's lives. We also want to create effective opposition to groups and citizens that run counter to the Code of Ethics of the National Association of Social Workers, and also to individuals' well-beings, consumers and citizens, and we want to make sure that pressure is put on our government officials so that they're paying attention to individuals. Also, because we need to make sure that our composition of our government is likely to support fairness and social justice and support the well-being of its citizens. I have this week an example of policy advocacy that takes 2 forms. First of all, there was a policy that was enacted to correct a problem, and then policy advocacy that happened to fix the correction that occurred. And so this is an opportunity for you to view a video concerning the boarding schools and read some information about that time period. And then I'm going to ask you to apply the ethical principles that I'll be providing you this week. So first of all, our first ethical principle applied to ethics is utilitarian. And this idea was brought forth by Stuart Mill. And Stuart Mill developed this ethical framework that says basically that it's acceptable that some people are harmed as long as there are greater benefits to the common good. An example of this is vaccination of children. We know that there is a small percentage of individuals that react very badly to vaccinations and can even die or have very severe immune issues, undergo really hardships, actually get the disease that they're being vaccinated against, so on and so forth. But if we apply the utilitarian approach, we would say that the end justifies the means, that it is better that a small portion of children are harmed so that lots of children are not harmed by these diseases. Rawls developed this idea of distributive justice, and this idea is very contrary to the utilitarian idea. It says that we should make sure that everyone is being allowed fair allocation of resources, and that special emphasis should be given to those of the disadvantaged members of society. So he has this idea of the veil of ignorance, which is where you veil your own needs in order to look beyond that and see the larger needs and benefits for society. And that it should be distributed to individuals who are most disadvantaged. Kantian ethics was developed by Kant, hence the name. And this idea is that it does not matter how many lives will be positively affected by a policy if you harm a vulnerable population, then it's not worth it. So from this standpoint, children must never be harmed, so it's not okay to require mass vaccinations, that those are ethically compromised, that is not a good ethical decision. Virtue ethics comes originally from Aristotle, and this is that it is very important to preserve a policy practitioner's character as a good member of society and not diminish that individual's integrity. So this is very much based on cultural norms and societal norms. So what is culturally or socially acceptable in one community may not be in another community. And so the virtue ethics are very dependent on those sociological aspects. The fifth one is ethic of care. And this is or was developed by Noddings in Toronto. I think that's how you say that, Tronto. And it really focuses on interdependence. And so it looks at why it is important for a decision to be made, with the understanding of we were once dependent as children. We may not be dependent now, but at another point in time we may be dependent again. And so we need to make sure that we have an understanding of all those people and how people can live together in order to make good decisions. An example that I have transportation policies is in a lot of suburbs there is ideas about how to get people to where they need to work. So people live on the fringes of the cities, and so there's that commuting time, right? Whether that be mass transit, whether it be freeway systems, what have you. The ethic of care says that when these systems are being developed, they really need to be looking at how is that going to impact individuals. So the transportation time to get to work and to back, how is that taking away from the family's life? How is that impacting the family's life? Is it creating hardship? Are resources that they need nearby, such as groceries? And what about people, if there isn't a mass transit system and people have to rely on their cars, what about individuals who don't have cars? How are they impacted by that system? And that all of these pieces should be taken into consideration before any decisions are made. So this is a little hard to read, but it's the best I could get scanned in. In the middle, you have ethically encouraged permissible policy practice. And then inside that square, you also have some other pieces of information that need to be taken into consideration. For us, as social workers, we need to take in the NASW Code of Ethics and the NASW Practice Standards. We also need to take into consideration the laws and also societal norms. Outside that box is gray areas of ethically questionable activities. Those are those pieces that we really struggle with. We're not really quite sure what to do with them. And then outside that box is the unethical actions. And so thinking about policies within this framework of paying attention to these aspects, moving into that gray area, and then moving way outside that gray area into unethical actions. So, I would like you to take a few minutes and think about which framework is most compatible to the NASW Code of Ethics. And there's no need to write it down, submit it, or anything of that nature. I just simply want you to think about how those two pieces connect. When you're done with this, you can go back to the site, and this week there is a threaded discussion and a weekly activity, and there is some videos that go along with that.